So the kinds of things that we would do if we were standing in your physical shoes relative to the subject of chores are: first, we would try to orient ourselves into feeling the positive aspects of every chore we do. And in fact, we would not call it a chore. We would call it a way to experience life. It's interesting. You'll go on vacation and you will actually expend more energy on vacation than you do on a normal day. And yet you call that vacation and the other work. And so we would try to find some way of blurring the line between work and play, or between what I get paid for and what I do joyfully, or between my free time and my bondage time. In other words, we would do our very best to try to get into vibrational sync with well-being. And we would try to realize that there are many things that we might do that, while they might not be the thing that, of all of the things on the planet that we would choose to do in that moment, that there are reasons that we are choosing to do it, you see. And so what we're encouraging you to do is to begin to realize that in every moment in time, no matter where you stand, you have the option of calling it a chore or calling it the blessing of where I can focus right now. You have the option of calling it bondage or the freedom to focus the mechanism that is me into this subject. We see many people who prefer to call their work bondage, and then they retire or quit, only to find themselves almost limp and lifeless, because while there was much about their work that they were not personally choosing, the fact that their employer or their work environment was choosing, a lot of life force was flowing through them because they had gotten hold of the coattails of something that was very big and moving along very fast. And they were actually having life breathed into them by being associated with it. And when they let loose of that, they did not have very much momentum of their own. And it turned out they were happier in the throes of the work that they thought was bondage than they are in the limpness of no energy moving through them in what they are now calling unemployment. And so what we are trying to stir up here is the realization that everyone can be as happy as they decide to be in any moment. And we would not begin at early ages of trying to orient our children into seeing anything that they are not choosing as their first choice as something that is their last choice. In other words, that's what goes wrong. When you say to your children, we have chores to do, you put a spotlight on it that makes it sound like I'm making you choose, but I'm not giving you the choice between the most fun thing that you can think of and the most awful thing that you can think of, and I'm demanding that you come with me to the most awful thing, and just to make sure you know how awful it is, let's call it a chore. What you're really wanting to say to them is, I'm wanting to activate within you. We would say this to our child, but not with words, but it's the vibrational stance you're wanting to hold. I'm wanting to activate within you the pride of being part of this family that is working so well. And I'm wanting to activate within you your willingness to participate in the joyful way that happy people do. And I'm wanting this family setting to give you the opportunity to learn how good you are at so many different things. I'm wanting to give you the opportunity for us to praise you and be pleased by you, and for you to praise yourself and be pleased by yourself. I'm wanting this to be an opportunity for us to all co-create together. And perhaps, in fact, indeed, this family structure of which we are a part is the most dynamic, most important co-creating that ever takes place on this planet. This is such an opportunity for you to discover the power of who you are. Doesn't that feel good? And so then from that stance, you're providing these opportunities for playing, for fun, for Esther can remember going to her mother and saying, what is there to do? What is there to do? And she was as happy cleaning out a drawer or assisting her mother in some way. In fact, it made her feel very good when her mother said, well, you could help me out in this way, than it did to go with her own toy or her own coloring book and do something that felt less meaningful. At very early ages, children begin to feel their desire to be a part of what is working. But if you yourself feel oppressed, like you're doing too much and like you shouldn't have to do it, then you convey the same thing to them that goes sort of like, well, this is something that nobody wants to do, but all of us have to do, and nobody said that life is supposed to be fun or fair, so just buck up and get a stiff upper lip and do this thing that you don't want to do. And we say, there is no high work and low work. There are just opportunities to focus. And as source energy is flowing through you, you can feel as fulfilled and satisfied in any task as in any other. There are those that say, oh, but I want to be a rocket scientist, or I want to be a genius this or that. And we say, that's the same thing that you say to non-physical. You think non-physical is out there creating worlds while you are here digging ditches. And we say, you are on the leading edge of thought and sources flowing through you no matter what your endeavor is, you see. And you can be joyful in any endeavor that you decide to allow the energy to flow. And so we would say to our children, in what way can you make this a fun thing to do? Let's see what fun we can have with this. And there is not anything more satisfying for an adult or a child than to find a better way of doing something. Almost every day, whether it is in the kitchen or in the computer or driving the monster bus or working with a seminar, Jerry and Esther will make one or more notes about ways to improve some technique that they are applying. Just something to do a little differently in their quest for a smoother, more fulfilling, more satisfying experience. And we would say to them, the very identification of those points of improvement is most of the joyous process. And then to see the universe comply to help them fulfill it, that's satisfying life experience. It doesn't get any more satisfying than that. So if your child can't be happy assisting in the family, your child is not going to be happy going to school or learning a trade or going to work or doing anything else in life that requires co-creation with others. You get a sense of what we're talking about? It's not going to be miserable now and fun later. They learn their bent toward taking life in a way that feels good now, and they're learning it from you. So a teacher that teaches from a classroom standpoint that says, there's this stuff that needs to be learned and I'm going to drum it into your head, is not joyful in the teaching, and the children are not joyful in the learning. But if a teacher has a subject that she or he truly enjoys and just loves seeing it light up in children, and it's still lighting up in her or him, now, there's true benefit in the moment. No value ever shows up later from pain now. Ever. And so that's what your question is. What should I do in the fostering of or mentoring of my children? And we say, you've got to get into a place where you're enjoying it and then want to share it with them. You've got to enjoy dishes and then share the opportunity with them. We're not kidding. You've got to enjoy cooking and then share the opportunity with them. You've got to enjoy home management. You've got to enjoy making your nest lovely. You've got to enjoy home and home life. You've got to enjoy the rhythm of your household. You've got to enjoy coming home and warming the house up. And you've got to enjoy getting things settled. And you've got to enjoy bringing the food in. You got to enjoy the family gathering around. And you've got to, you get the sense of it? It's such a wonderful environment.
I'm ready to go home. Yeah, sort of. I do. I really, and I totally, and I'm grateful for that. And I take it one step further, my question. I mean, I work in an inner city school, and my mission and my passion, it's all a passion for me, is any way that I can to give tools to keep them feeling connected with Source when they feel so disconnected when they are in their day-to-day. When they go home and their family life is a different type of a setup, and they go inside and know that they have the power to manifest their dreams. And I just sometimes, from your advice, working with children, thinking they have a lot of direction and wisdom within themselves, but there's not a lot of support systems for that.
We want to help you to get reoriented in your attitude toward them, because whether you've picked that up from them or whether you've learned it from other teachers, wherever you've got this attitude of what their lives are like, it doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve them.
Okay.
And we would like to give you something that from our point of view is a more accurate rendition. Sometimes there are children who are pretty much ignored at home. In other words, there aren't people there trying to tend to their every need. But that does not mean that those children are joyless or without potential for connection, because often a child that is not under the scrutiny of parents is actually in a much more connected place more of the time. So there's a lot of misidentification of children in need. Very often there are parents that are so concerned and so interested and so on the backs of, so to speak, of their children, that they are in a much more disconnected state. There are children who have parents and uncles and aunts and grandparents all loving them. There are also, in many cases, those same children who have brothers and sisters and parents and uncles and aunts and grandparents all scrutinizing their every move. And so sometimes a child that is not getting all that much attention is not as bad off as you think that the child is. Because you got to remember, every child, no matter where they live, no matter who they live with, is an extension of source energy. And sometimes that alone time is precious time of connection. So don't make the assumptions from outside circumstances.
I agree with you.
That there is oppression. Now, sometimes there is, and sometimes it's obvious to you, but you can't let your knowledge of that interfere with your relationship with that child. Because if you see some child that is being abused or mistreated or ignored in some exaggerated way, and you focus in on that, now it's in your vibration, and now you're not connected, and now you don't have anything to give this child. And so in the same way that the people who are mistreating this child are doing it from their place of disconnection and not knowing it, now you're doing it from your place of disconnection, only you're knowing it. So it's worse on you about it, you see. And so don't get too entangled in the parts of their lives that you can't do anything about. Don't let them give you so much information that you get disconnected. Instead, be determined that you want to see them in the best of light, because nothing is more irritating to most of those kids than for you to feel sorry for them.
Absolutely.
Some of them want you to, but they are rare. Nothing irritates them more than for you to feel sorry for them or try to fix something that they will not yet admit is broken. And you're not wanting to hammer it into them how broken it is so that you can fix it. Then you're just like all the other advertisers that are trying to activate things that are wrong so that you can justify your existence in their existence, you see. And again, we're not speaking this directly to you.
I understand.
We're talking about the whole of this subject. Sometimes in the attempt to get close to these kids, you let them teach you so much about them that then you can't see them as succeeding. And you don't want to let that happen. You want to do everything that you can to maintain your picture of them thriving. And if that means ignoring evidence that they're not thriving, then we would go for it. So as a teacher, or as a parent, we would make lists of positive aspects. We would, on the first day that we are there, take the roster of their names, and we would learn to associate their name with their face. On that first day, we would know who each of them is. And we would jot in our notebook the first impression of positive aspects that we're getting. Bright eyes, beautiful hair, great smile, willing to help. Whatever it is that you're seeing, positive aspects, positive aspects. And every day while we are doing a roll call or while they are doing something while we're observing them, we would go row by row, line by line, seat by seat, and we would add to our list of positive aspects. And we would extrapolate from our list future experience. Sure success. Probably a movie star, probably a writer, probably an actor, probably a brain surgeon. In other words, anywhere you begin to see, we would begin seeing for them in advance all of these success. Happy child, loving child, willing child. And what will begin to happen is you will activate in yourself those traits, and then law of attraction must bring those traits to you so that their personalities begin to revolve to you. It doesn't matter what's happening anywhere else. Your moment in time, your rendezvous with them will always be one that will be satisfying to you and to them. You can hold many, many people in vibrational harmony with well-being through your vibrational resources. And we're not saying you're creating in their reality. We're saying you are activating so fully as you hold them as your object of attention, your connection to source energy, that they've got to work pretty hard to be someplace else when they're in your vibration. And then they start loving being with you. And when it is no longer the time for them to be with you, they will never forget what they have gained from you. In one very short period of time, you can elicit from them and awaken within them their sense of self.
Oh, I'm so grateful for this. I was going one way, and so many people, I was getting a little confused, but you got me right back on track.
Oh, we just picked it right from you.
Oh.
Everything we gave you is what you already know.
I'm so grateful.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed.